Hello and welcome to day 151 on C3's East Church Bible in a Year. This morning we're going to look at some passages in 1 Samuel. We see King David. We also looking at the Old Testament and the New Testament passages today. We see a contrast of the fall, the continuing fall of Saul and the rising kudos of King David. Before we see that, we see those wretched Amalekites again. As we said last week, those Amalekites were supposedly wiped out eventually by Saul, but eventually by Samuel, who beheaded the last of them. Yet they appear again, and as we explained that anomaly that in the text last Sunday rather. We see the rise. David comes and he finishes the job and destroys his group of Amalekites through get away. However, essentially they are destroyed. We also see somebody taking his life and the fall of a people, which is, I think, rather sad. Due to continued disobedience, Saul, basically the countries surrounded against Saul and Israel, and Saul actually takes his own life, and it means death to Israel and the potential to be taken into captivity again, and certainly overrun by the Philistines. Contrast that with the reading in John 19, and John 19 verses 28. You read about the death of Jesus, and where in the Old Testament chapter we see a man taking his life and resulting in death and the fall of a nation. We have which is genuinely my favourite verse in the entire Bible. So much so, because it contains probably, or undoubtedly in my opinion, the most profound statement the world or the universe has ever known. And that's verse 30 of John 19. When he had received the drink, Jesus said, "It is finished." That's such a fantastic statement to make. It means that it's concluded, the job is over, the deal is struck. There's a similar terminology in Book of Revelation 21 verse 6. It is finished, I am the Alpha and the Omega. I finished the job, I finished my task. And following this fantastic statement, it is finished, Jesus gave up his spirit. This is a man giving his life, giving his own life, in order to start to pay for salvation, and for no gain for himself, but to be the God man, to pay the atonement for our sin and pay for our salvation. The Saul is taking his own life. Jesus is giving his life freely. Just Saul's left the fall of Israel yet again. Jesus' statement led to new life. It's just a fantastic thing to think about. We actually see some of the things acted out later on in the chapter. In John 19. There's actually loads you can speak about. Something which stood up for me when I read it this time. It's always been there, obviously, and I read it before, and Joseph of Arimathea, when he took Jesus' body down off the cross, he was helped by Nicodemus. That's just fantastic. It's the result of Jesus' teaching and Jesus' "you must be born again." This is Nicodemus, who is now part of the kingdom, helping to bury his Lord. So it's fantastic. The Easter story then is essentially the Easter story as the empty tomb, where we have a tendency to think that the victory was wrought or the things were finished at the resurrection, but they weren't. They were finished at the crucifixion with the statement it was finished. As much as we've seen dramatised a fight, a mighty fight over those 3 days between the death and the resurrection of Christ. It wasn't the fact of the devil, Satan, rubbing his hands. Yes, we've won. He's coming down to join us. It was fear and trepidation because there wasn't a battle to be fought. It is finished. It was done. The keys of death and hell were. Satan was vanquished at that point. And that's something we need to remember, is that the death of Jesus is the happier of the occasions, because that is when sin was defeated. Yet we celebrated on the resurrection at Easter morning, which is a more physical demonstration of that defeat, of that great victory. So yeah, there we go. There we see it. We see a contract. Man take the fall of Saul, and he taking his own life out of fear. The rise of King David, who actually finishes actually does destroy the Amalekites. Or his battle, win his battle with the Amalekites. So Saul takes his own life. Jesus gives his life freely. Saul's resulted in death of a nation. Jesus giving his life resulted in eternal life for us all. Thank you very much. Bye.